Welcome to episode 60, yes, 60 of Inside Deschutes County. Whether you're on the go, at home, or just looking for something new to listen to, thanks for making us a part of your day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast app or stream every episode anytime at deschutes.org/podcast.
Deschutes County is an amazing place to live.
Ease of access.
Work and play.
Great place to raise a family.
I love the weather and the high desert.
At Deschutes County, we provide excellent service.
Beautiful.
We're here to help you.
Deschutes County is the heart of Oregon.
Everyone wants to be here.
Welcome to the Inside Deschutes County podcast. I'm Eric Breon. Well, today we're taking a closer look at how the county builds and manages its budget. Lots to talk on this topic. I have some important guests with me today. Joining me are County Commissioner Tony DeBone, Chief Financial Officer Robert Tintle, and let me see if I get this title right, Budget and Financial Planning Manager Cam Sparks. Did I get that right?
You did.
Nice. Well, thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having us. Yes, it's a team effort today.
It's a big group in here today. Yeah. Big group in here. Well, it's great to have Commissioner DeBone back. You were here for episode 1.
Number 1. And this is what, number 60?
This is number 60.
60. This is exciting.
So you're here for like a milestone.
Yeah.
On the podcast. So great to have you here. Robert, this is your second time.
It is. Yes.
And we got to figure out what to do for Cam with her first, we don't do hazing here, but.
Have you ever done any kind of podcast?
I haven't.
Oh, here you go.
Here we go.
Enjoy, yes.
Here we go. Well, let's dive in because lots to talk about on this topic. Let's start with some kind of big picture context. Commissioner DeBone, I'll throw this to you. We're approaching Deschutes County's 110th year.
That's right. 1916, the citizens voted to secede from Crook County. Crook County had built a $250,000 courthouse in downtown Prineville, and it was just too much. It was too much for the people of Bend. But really, the railroad came through here in 1911, and that's when more business came up to this elevation because, Prineville's kind of down in a bowl there. So all of a sudden there was the capacity to create a new thing called a county. We're the only county in the United States called Deschutes County. Very unique name. I mean, it's kind of a fun name, but you never think of it as the only one that's called Deschutes. There's lots of Washington counties and different things out there. So Deschutes County going into probably about the 110th budget. So as I say, the budget cycles for this next fiscal year, July 1st to June 30th.
Well, let me ask you this question. So how does that legacy then kind of shape the way we plan for the future in terms of the budget?
Well, so we've been basically very, very, great opportunity in Deschutes County, right? I'm just going to talk about the big picture here real quick. Destination Resort, Sun River was kind of the original version of something like that. Blackview Ranch was built. Eagle Crest is out there. The city of Bend was a small little crossroads town with even smaller towns called Redmond and Sisters. There wasn't even a town called Lapine back in the day. Now there's a city of Lapine. Bend is getting to 100,000. We have this great economy that's diversified with manufacturing as well as tourism, as well as the beautiful views and skiing and the rivers in the area. So that's the big picture of where we're at. And then at that point, Deschutes County's budget is, kind of our annual effort to, make good choices about the services that our budget supports.
Robert, there's some important things to keep in mind when building these budgets. Oregon has laws. Can you walk us through kind of what that is and how that affects kind of some of the decisions the county makes?
Certainly, yeah. Oregon local budget law is what guides and directs local governments on how you issue your budget, the steps you need to take, including public involvement. One thing that's unique about our budget is, compared to the federal government, is the state and counties, cities, we have to have a balanced budget. So our total resources have to equal our total expenditures. So we make sure every single year our budgets are balanced. Also in Oregon, due to Oregon local budget law, our expenditures are capped per se by what's in the budget, and that has the force of law. We cannot overspend for what we budget. We can get more revenues in or less revenues in. That's okay. But as far as expenditures, we can only expend up to what we actually budget through the annual budget process.
Cam,
or supplemental.
Or supplemental.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. Cam, from a management standpoint, how do you take those laws and then turn them into kind of clear, workable guidance for departments across the county? Because we have a few,
Right.
20 some odd, 22 some odd departments.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest efforts of the budget process is putting together the proposed budget book, which goes to the budget committee, which is also an Oregon law or Oregon budget law requirement. We have the governing body of 3, and then we have to have 3 citizen members as well. And it's their job to review the proposed budget that's put forth by the budget officer, which in this case is Nick Lilac, our county administrator. And it's their job to review and approve the budget. And so it is a coordinated effort across the entire county.
Big effort.
For every department to put together their budget, and then we bring that together into one document that can be reviewed by the public. We publish it online as well as the budget committee.
A lot of different funds in this budget, including the general fund. Why does that one get, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Why does that one get so much attention? For people who don't know.
Right. Yeah, there are many funds across the county. The general fund is the main discretionary fund that the county has, the general purpose fund that can be used for any purpose per se without the strings attached to maybe some other funding. Like we have a lot of special revenue funds or capital funds or debt service funds. Those are all restricted funds that have to be used for special purpose. The money was specifically granted to the county to carry out a specific purpose. The general fund is the fund where we have that discretionary focus. We have the discretionary ability. So that's why there is a lot of focus on the general fund, because it's what we can actually utilize in a variety of services.
Are there some key things, Robert, that community members might not realize about that fund, the general fund, or might be surprised to learn about it in terms of how it operates or what it's used for?
Well, the general fund is derived from property tax revenue. That's the major source of revenue for the general fund. They may or may not know that, but it is used for a variety of services, big services that the county offers, including, and Cam, help me out here, but the district attorney's office, community justice, public health, assessment and taxation.
Victims assistance, that's part of the DA. Veterans office, let's see, the assessor's office is also funded out of the general fund.
So there's a lot of competing high priority services that the county values, all competing for those same dollars, limited dollars.
Is it a tug of war?
I'm ready to talk about this now. So think about the big picture here. When the state legislature gets in session, sometimes there's a bill, there's an idea. It's like, oh, let's go do this. And then they'll give some money to the county and start a program. But then the next time they get into session, they're like, okay, well, we're going to focus on something else now. But the people expect, or we like to have this program. So then there's pressure on the general fund to keep a program going. So that's where the policy, the political front end of this whole thing starts to happen. Because obviously, the more money you have, the more good things you can do. The general fund is basically tapped out when you think of it, because no matter how much we spend for any of these services, we also want to maintain our buildings, be able to provide new capital, the next facility or whatever we need to do, and keep everything we have well maintained. So, the business case of how we spend the general fund and the policy of what kind of reserves do we have? What do we feel comfortable with? What's politically palatable? What's the state legislature trying to tell us to do without giving us money? So I'm just pointing out that's where it really gets interesting.
Well, you've been part of this process now for years. What have you learned when you first became commissioner to now?
Yeah, so kind of brings me...
Is your approach different?
Brings me back to the beginning. When I did get started, Tammy Bainey and Alan Unger were the commissioners. They had been a commissioner for a couple of years. Alan Unger came from being the mayor in Redmond. I came from a small park district in southern Deschutes County, LaPine area. So I didn't have experience with it was about $325 million or $335 million was it all rolled up to in 2011. I just remember that number. But I got to sit in the room with the budget committee members and the commissioners that have been in office for at least a few years, think Commissioner Payne was just finishing up 4 years. And I got to soak it in, so I didn't have to come in and make hard decisions. Those were generally okay times. It was right after Great Recession. Remember 2007, 8, 9? We didn't know which end was up. But in 2011, it felt like, I think we're done with the recession, but we weren't sure. But we were stable financially at that point. So that was my first experience doing that. There's opportunities for funding programs, having reserves, and making those policy decisions. In the last 15 years, the path keeps getting narrower and narrower, though. It's like the cost of doing business is going up, which is fine. It's the inflationary environment we're in. The income probably isn't keeping up with the expenses. This is happening all over the place, all jurisdictions. You hear it from the state right now. So we're doing this podcast in October of 2025. Next short session, next fiscal year, it's going to be interesting to see what choices we do need to make. But we're a healthy county moving forwards.
I'll post this to all of you. The budget committee plays a major role in this process. And I don't know if everybody knows that there is a budget committee. In fact, we have an opening right now.
Closes on the 27th.
On the 27th. So we're knocking on that. But talk about how that group is formed and who's on it and how it kind of, helps form the whole document.
Yeah, so again, it's required by Oregon local budget law to have an equal number of citizens to the governing body, which in this case is 3. And in the past, the process has been, we put out the recruitment, people can apply, and then ultimately the governing body, the board of commissioners, they choose the budget committee members. And, I think they're looking for people with different perspectives in the community to bring their perspective to the budget book. It's interesting sometimes when you have people from private sector and they kind of bring that private sector look into the budget. But yeah, so we bring them together in May every year and all the departments present their budgets to the budget committee. And then there's sometimes decisions that need to be made, right? We don't always have enough resources to cover everything that needs to be funded. And so there's choices that have to be made. And that's where the budget committee can deliberate on those choices and make recommendations and then ultimately approve those recommendations.
Is it tough to manage this committee with people from the outside? I mean, maybe this isn't a question I should ask, but I would think that would be difficult because they don't necessarily know the inner workings of every single department, every single thing, what they're going through that, year round, as opposed to, okay, now we got to figure out a budget.
Yeah. And that you're correct. There's a lot of funds. We have a lot of funds. There's a lot of intricacies within our budget. It's complicated. So we meet with them in December. Typically, this year it'll be January, but we call it the mid-year budget committee update, and we just try to give them a lot of information about what's going on in our budget. So when they go into budget deliberations in May,
they're not blind.
They're not totally blind. Yeah.
So we do have an orientation for new budget committee members when they come on board. They meet with the budget manager, Cam, and her team, and we just provide an overview. And departments are also very open about sharing as well. Now, interesting to that point is right now, as Cam mentioned, there are 6 members of the budget committee, 3 county commissioners and 3 public citizen members. Well, as we move to 5 county commissioners, the budget committee will grow because we'll have an equal number of 5 citizen committee members on it. So we'll have 10 people. So there will be a time where we will have potentially a larger number of new budget committee members at one time.
So from a policy standpoint, how does the board navigate things like, the revenue constraints while trying to still, navigate the growing community needs?
So one of the things I figured out years ago, this is a permanent level of government. We're not going to go bankrupt. We're always going to have needs. We're always going to have services for Deschutes County citizens. And we have professionals all over the place really running this organization. So there's policy choices all over that, though. The state legislature provides dollars for programs, like I mentioned earlier, that that may not have in the future. So we got to make policy choices that are from our general fund, but also just the size of the organization, knowing that our facilities need maintenance. We have risks that come over the horizon every day. So yeah, it's kind of like a living being, I guess, is where I'm going to go with that right now. Yeah.
Robert, how would you describe, I'm guessing it comes up in your meetings, like the overall financial health of the county right now, maybe especially within the general fund. Do you guys talk about that? Is that something where you're like, oh, we're in good shape, or oh, we need to fix this and that?
We do talk about it all the time, actually. And I would say the county is in a period of financial stability, right? We don't have that high levels of growth that we used to have in early years. But because of the financial planning and the financial forecasting that the budget office does, Cam here in particular on our team, is we look at, in particular, a 5-year period and even beyond that at a 10-year period. So because of that forecasting, we are making those tough decisions today about resetting the expenditure curve, limiting growth today so we can continue to grow into tomorrow. And so when we look at our forecast, in the out years, yes, we're making some tough choices today on limiting our growth, but we're not faced with the same kind of financial pressures that some other organizations are with multi-million-dollar reductions per year. So it is saving us by having this long-term forecast outlook.
Cam, you used the phrase right-size our budget for fiscal year 27. That came up. What does that mean, and how are you preparing for something like that?
Yeah, and we actually did this in fiscal year 26 as well, particularly within the general fund. So as Robert mentioned, we put limits on how expenditures could grow within that fund because we were structurally imbalanced where expenditures were outpacing revenues, and so we needed to reset that growth curve. And so, departments within the general fund and other departments receiving general fund dollars, they really needed to take a look at their budgets and see where they could trim and reduce to stay within those limits that they were given. And everybody was able to do that. And consequently, did reset the curve. And, the long-term forecast is showing we're financially stable for longer than 5 years. So the outcome was what we were hoping for.
Which is what you said your goal is, keep the county stable. What does that look like in practice?
Well, we kind of have to, but by requirement. But making sure that the services we want to see on the ground are the ones that are prioritized in the budget. I mean, the budget choices are the policy choices at that point. We do it annually, every 12 months here in Deschutes County. And it's the culture of what we do. What we do for the citizens of Deschutes County is to say all the elected official department heads, appointed official department heads, the services of the county. As I say, I'm hesitant to list them all because I'll forget somebody if I do that right now. But it's all in the budget book, and those are the choices we make each year about the resources we have.
How do you prepare for the unexpected? I mean, there's got to be some sort of contingency plan, right? If something pops up that the county needs to address?
Yes, unexpected items come up all the day,
All
or
the
unexpected
time.
requests or whatever. But we do have a mechanism in place within our budget, and that is contingencies where all departments are required to budget for a contingency. And we also build up our reserves, or we build in a reserve, not for all funds, but for some funds in areas where it needs to. In fact, the commissioners recently approved a policy, probably about a little over a year ago, about creating an emergency reserve. So just in case we have that financial emergency or that catastrophic event that happens, we have some funds set aside to be able to respond to those emergencies.
Funding for things like capital projects has to be huge. I know we're doing the courthouse expansion project now. Are there things coming up that you're like, okay, here we go, we're getting ready for that one, and how does that come into play in terms of planning?
So a couple thoughts on those. We've got, our administration building here. This was built before my time, and then our Mike Meyer building. So we've got some big buildings here, and the old gray courthouse used to be the place where the board of commissioners, the assessor, the treasurer, the clerk, the sheriff, everybody was in that building in the 40s probably. Now we're working on the third version of the courthouse with this new construction project out there. Some of that general fund every year is peeled off very specifically for maintenance of what we have, and then we need to build more. Obviously, is tricky. We were able to get a funding package for this $40 million it's a 20-something million dollar courthouse that slipped to 40 during inflationary periods, but we were able to put a package together, partnership with the state. So the state wrote us a check for $15 million for that. and it's going to be $40-something million by the time we're done. Other counties are doing whole new courthouses and facilities for $100 million. So I mean, it's really kind of amazing that we're able to do this for that $40 million, integrating with their existing facilities. But yeah, back to that picture, we've got big ones on the horizon too. Sheriff's office, we've got needs there. We expanded the jail years ago. We didn't do the kitchen and laundry facilities, the entrance of the meeting rooms for jail and custody populations, but also just expansion of services, search and rescue, and the motor pool are, just haven't been dealt with in a long time. So we have big capital needs on the horizon and not big money in the bank. So we just got to prudently, slowly build up our reserves, keep our credit rating good. If we need to borrow money, we can. We haven't had to go out to the voters either. That's a big think about that. We have not had to go out to the voters and say, we'd like to build a building. Will you help pay for it with an extra capital bond vote at any time?
And there's outside influence too that we don't have control over. Inflation.
Oh yeah.
Building costs, those kinds of things. Boy, that lots of curveballs I imagine there too in terms of budgeting. Yes.
Yes, that's what we did.
A lot of head
Well,
nods.
all of us are nodding and nobody
Yes.
says anything.
Our most recent project with the courthouse, and as Commissioner DeBone mentioned, that had rising, escalating inflation costs and cost of production, cost of materials. And so we did have to rearrange our funding or look at our funding structure to find how can we support these changes. And luckily, because we did get financing from the state of $15 million, we also used $4.6 million of local assistance tribal consistency funds. That's from the American Rescue Plan. So we had some of this money in advance, and so we've been earning interest on that. Luckily, we have been in a higher rate interest environment, so we were able to contribute $3 million towards that project just from interest alone. So it is really helpful to have these other revenue sources to help pay for that, and that helped balance the courthouse budget when there were some escalation in costs.
So full faith and credit bonds, internal to the organization has been the way we would, if we need to do a big chunk, we borrow an appropriate amount relative to the size of our organization, and we've never really been extended. But those days might be gone though too. That's the other thing we learn about year after year. You're like, oh, we may have to just go ask the voters for a capital bond someday.
Is transparency and accountability a tough thing for your team when it comes to how do we get this, what tools do we give people, what communication do we put out there? Our budget committee meetings are streamed online so that everybody can see what we're doing. What are some of the things that you have in place in the tax finance team to make sure that all the information is getting out to who it needs to get out to, which is everyone in our county?
No, those are core values, transparency and accountability. They're really core values that we have in finance and the Board of County Commissioners,
I was
the
thinking
county
that,
as a whole, right? So in all areas, we want to be as transparent as possible. We want to be accountable to the taxpayers, to the residents, to the community members, because we are financial stewards of the money that is entrusted to us. So in everything we do, that's always top of mind in what we do. And that's why we do put all of this material available on the website. It's available in public meetings. We even post online expenditures, all expenditures over $500. We do that every month. Our investment reports, our financial reports. So we try to be as responsive and transparent and accountable as much as we can, and even respond to public requests all the time.
Well, and I'd say we are. I mean, because if something was really, hey, I really need to know this information, you can get it. The hard part is just skipping across and reading the headlines in the news and hearing that somebody said something about something that was said at a board meeting, and we get half information, and then it turns into spin. That's the hard part. Everything we do is a recorded video streamed meeting. Minutes are published. You can get a financial down to the penny in any area. So it's not the...
Oh, it's out there.
Yeah, exactly. It's out there.
I know, because we're
just
putting it
the
out there.
spin around it is the hard part
Yeah, we're
sometimes.
putting it out there. What tools do you have? Because there's obviously the website. Deschutes.org, great place to go for that information. But I know that there's some reports that your team puts out. There's the annual comprehensive report. There's the popular report. Talk about those just a minute.
Right. Well, we're also award-winning from the Government
next
Finance
week.
Officers
Yes.
Association. So we
Triple
are
Crown.
Triple Crown Award winner, which means we produce and receive awards from the Government Finance Officers Association for our budget document. And that 300-page document is on our website every single year. You can go look at it, as well as our annual comprehensive financial report. And we referenced that earlier. That's also on the website, award-winning. And finally, and that's a 300-page document as well about. And then the popular annual financial report, I'll say it's popular because it's only 10 to 12 pages, but that provides a high-level overview of how we spent our funds during the year with graphs and photos and symbols, and it's really digestible to the average person. So we really do try to promote that information as well. We do press releases and public service announcements when those things are available, just so people can look at them.
And both the budget document and the annual comprehensive financial report, they're long, but there are sections within them that the budget message in the budget book, it's right in the beginning. It kind of gives a high-level overview of what's happened, what's going to happen, what we're planning. And then the same thing in the ACFR, there's a management discussion that's also, short, just 10 pages, that is more high level. So you don't have to read through the whole
It's
300
super
pages,
helpful.
unless you really want to.
It's super for a budget dummy like me. You can go and kind of get a sense as to what's going on in the county for every department and kind of see, okay, yes, where they stand, in terms of their budget, but also what they're working on and, things like that.
You know what I could see in my retirement someday? I will go track some of these down from other places and start to read them someday. Just because I've been in the middle of it for so long now, for Deschutes County specifically, wouldn't that be interesting? Looking at somebody else's and just getting the culture feel for some of these documents.
I don't know if
That'll
that'd
be
be on
geeky.
my top 10 list.
I'll play
of things
golf
to
and
do
read
with-
other people's
okay,
budgets.
golf. Well,
Yeah.
I'm with you on the
Well,
golf.
we actually do that because we're
you
always
do.
looking to improve our budget book or our financial reporting book, and so we're always
Yeah.
looking to see how other
Look it up.
counties reported or cities. And we are kind of financial geeks in that way.
Well, now
and
I know why you have all those budget books in your
why
office.
I say that though, it's so it gives you the feel of what's going on. The culture of where you're at. There's a couple paragraphs about just what's Deschutes County, who are we? So that's what I'm referring to. I mean, it really does give you a feel for what's going on here.
You do have a bunch of budget
Yes.
books in your office, though.
So when I took over for Dennis Luke, the only thing he left me was about 2 shelves of budget books. The office was empty except for that. And it became valuable, though. A couple years into sitting at the budget meetings, I thought, why can't we get this dialed in at the health department? No judgment here, but every time we talk about the health department, there's big changes, big moves. So I went back and looked at the budget message and some of the budgets for the health department. I'm like, I see. We're managing change because it is always changing in the health department, where the money's coming from, what the priorities are, what the needs are in the community. Unfortunately, what drugs might be coming through or addiction services or whatever. But that was valuable looking back a few times. We're managing change in health at all times. It's always like that. It just feels like you're not on top of it generally, but it's just because it's always changing.
I imagine some of those earlier frameworks have kind of influenced how you budget today, or some of those decisions.
Oh, well, as I say, the organization coming out of a great recession, as I say, 2007, 8, 9. What years do you say the recession was? I always kind of come up with different
I'm
numbers.
always 08. Yeah.
8,
9.
Yeah.
Yeah. 08, whatever. I always kind of, it's a window for me. But my point is the choices that were made 10 and 20 years before that made it a healthy, growing county, which made it a stable county, which allowed it to be able to get through that very challenging time. And as I say, I came on in 2011, and then there was just this growth period. But I was grounded in knowing that, hey, we need to be ready for what just happened 2 years earlier, referring to 2008.
We get a lot of questions in the communications department about, especially this last year or so, external funding from, grants from the state, federal grants. Talk about that, because now it's kind of ebbs and flows a little bit. I'm certain that's kind of impacting your discussions in terms of how people use those and if they, go away or come back. How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now a lot of that is in flux, and it doesn't impact every department, but, there are a lot of departments that receive state or federal funding, like health services, like adult parole and probation. And so I think, those departments do run a lot of what if scenarios. What if we don't get this funding, then what do we need to do?
And that's what I was just referring to. It's like, oh, but I thought we figured it out last year, but no, next year it's going to be different, which is always okay. Once you figure out it's managing change, you can deal with that. Right now, it does feels like it's going to be different, though. I mean, if we're not going to have the Medicaid dollars or the SNAP program with this federal government shutdown, who knows what that's going to look like. It may be very different in the future.
Anything keep you up at night?
No.
No.
That's actually tough. I mean,
Robert sleeps great.
That's right. No, the great thing is we have a great financial team. We have great leadership at the county. And because we are doing those financial forecasts and we are looking in those out years, we are looking, again, every dollar we save today helps us for the dollar in the future. And it resets the trajectory. So we're doing a great job, and our budget team is doing a great job of managing the resources we have today, focusing on savings where we can have that, limiting our growth where we can, and it's trying to avoid major issues. Now, yes, things come up all the time, but the county has been adaptable, right? It's been flexible. We've been able to serve and meet the needs as they've come up, and we hope we can continue to do that. Are there things that we may be concerned about or we're watching, like at the federal level right now? Yes, we're watching that. We're concerned with that. We're having updates on that. We're checking in with the departments, right? But we know we hope we can weather through the storm, but that's why we have our policies and structures in place to help us through those challenging times.
Commissioner DeBone, I'll give you the final word on the budget and where we're going, how we're doing. Anything else you want to add?
And I was just thinking about, this is just kind of a podcast about money, right? Our budget. Cam, I want to thank you for what you do. You sit there in front of the budget committee with this document that's been put together, published by our budget officer, Nick Lilac. And it's kind of crazy because all the detail behind it, but you're such a professional. Thank you very much for what you do. And then, as I say, monthly, the annual monthly statements that we do, the annual statements, the keeping the big picture. Robert, you do such a good job at that. This thing rolls up to $750 million or so, and you'd have to study about how it gets that big. Our general fund basically is about $40 million from that one line item on our tax bill. After that, it just goes all over the place. What keeps me up at night is, there's going to maybe be a downturn at some point. I think of a business cycle. Things are going up, things are going down. It's like a big circle with quadrants in it. And we might have artificially postponed or tried not to have a downturn in the last half a dozen years or so. So I think we're going to have to pay the piper at some point. I'm not a professional in this area, just a feel. But then you'll be ready for the upcycle too. So, I don't know if we're ever going to, we'll see what the near future brings. But we're a very strong, healthy, and growing. We're the envy of a lot of places, maybe in Oregon. I don't want to get too political there, referring to who, but what. But we're stable, we're growing still, and that's very valuable. And that's my goal, is to be able to keep it that way and hand it off someday from there.
Well, kudos to all of you. I could not do the jobs that you do. Communications people tend to avoid math like the plague.
Math.
So I appreciate the work that you do. I appreciate your meetings. To be quite honest, the budget committee meetings, I sat in on those this last turn. And man, Cam, you are quick on the keyboard, because you're plugging in numbers so fast and updating things and relaying that information so quickly and so clear. And, the conversations are open and they're just very informative. And so I would just really encourage people, they can listen in or pop in. I think they're open to anybody. So, man, great job to all of you for how you navigate all of those twists and turns. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
My thanks again to Commissioner Tony DeBone, Chief Financial Officer Robert Tintle, and Budget and Planning Manager Cam Sparks for joining me. If you're interested in how the county makes these kind of decisions, there's actually an opening right now on the Deschutes County Budget Committee. It's a great way to get involved and see firsthand how your county government works. You can learn more or apply at deschutes.org/volunteer. We want to thank you again for listening to Inside Deschutes County. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts or at deschutes.org/podcast. Until next time, be safe out there.